Thanks, George Torwell, for manifesting direct from this memory hole of history to impress on us these messages. We're told we need safety, which is precious, yes, but can a society that can enforce all its laws ever progress? Hindsight shows that many figures guilty of thought crime turned out to be luminaries and heroes before their time. But if a surveillance state had reigned then in this form and design, just think of all the progress we may have all been denied. Could lobbies for women's or gay rights have appeared and thrived? Would revolutionary ideals have materialized? Would science have pioneered or even survived if every word had been monitored by thought police and spies? Big Brother brings chilling effects, freezing our collective hopes. He doesn't protect our safety, but protects the status quo and threatens this internet, the one channel yet uncontrolled, whose openness we are now called upon to effect and uphold.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way Galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello everybody and welcome to the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. What you were just listening to there, that was called the Juice Media Rap News number 15. Big Brother is Watching. Talked with those guys when that came out a while ago and asked them if we could play it on our radio show. They said, yeah, absolutely. And we said, okay, as long as you're cool with us playing it, we want to play it. It's very interesting when you think about the surveillance state and how connected and how wonderful all this technology is. However, where is the privacy? Where is the privacy and hackability? Has your credit card been hacked? Has a bank account been hacked? Has your health insurance been hacked? Your doctor's office been hacked? Where is your information vulnerable? On your phones? You got to think about that stuff. So that's why I wanted to lead in with that today on the program. Even though this is a sports show, it's important, it's relevant, it's something you need to be paying attention to, because I have to now deal with credit identity information. There's been an information breach with one of the companies that I had been doing business with, So you got to be careful making sure that all of your stuff is fine, even when you didn't do anything. You just got to kind of keep an eye on what's going on with your identity, your online identity and online information. So think about it. There was a weird shooting over at the NSA this week. Bullets hit an NSA building. It's very interesting. Edward Snowden's trying to negotiate a fair trial if he could return home. Global affairs, fun stuff. Hey, how about some sports? How about some Indians, Cavs, Browns, or Buckeyes? Yes, that is where I'm coming from. That's kind of where I start and stop as a sports fan. It's where it began, and it's the thing that I care most about in the sporting world. Of course, we all like to pay attention to the most interesting, funny, inspiring, or sweet stories that we can find. But, coming from a place here where rooting for the hometown team. So what we're going to do today is we're going to bring in former NBA scout and lifelong Ohio sports fan Zak Baris. He's currently an NBA consultant. And if you've been listening to our program over the past, 2 or 3 or 4 years, Zak has been on the program for a long time. Because that's kind of what we do. It's like, if you like talking about politics, join us on Agree to Disagree. If you want to talk sports, join us over here on the Unhappy Hour. And that's what we do. So we want to split today's show up into some Cleveland Browns stuff with all the free agency moves and the draft coming up. What do we do? What do we do at quarterback? What do you do at running back? What do you do at wide receiver? What do we do at offensive line? What do you do at defensive tackle? Yeah, fun. And then that's that. The Cleveland Cavaliers are playing amazing basketball. They really had a statement game last week against the Golden State Warriors. Played a very good game, that game. Played well this past week, and here we are tonight against the Hawks. By the time you hear this, who knows? We might have already played. But, there's things we're going to learn. There's things we already know up to this point in the season, and then there's things that we're going to learn based on the outcome of the game. What do we learn if Cleveland wins? What do we learn if Atlanta wins? We'll talk about that. We'll also want to talk about some spring training with the Cleveland Indians. A lot of people saying we might have the best rotation in all of baseball. So who knows? That's pretty cool. We'll see how that one plays out. We have Corey Kluber. That's a pretty darn good place to start. And then we could also get into NCAA stuff. We could get into Ohio State or the brackets and March Madness and whatnot. So let's split these up and let's bring Zach in. But if you haven't heard those shows before, like I said, go check them out. They're archived on thenewamericanmedia.com. That's our home site. And on the right-hand side, there's a few things. One's quote of the day. We have some pretty good quotes of the day on there. And then there's a TNAM radio button. That's where you click it to listen to the show live when we go live. And then underneath is Twitter and Facebook. You can click them right from that home site, or you could do that manually. Search The New American Media with spaces in between and like the page. And then on Twitter, we're at American_media_. We share a lot of different information on social media than we do on the radio show, than we do on the website. They're all different mediums. There's different stuff happening in all of them. So join the conversation. And to join the conversation, we'll bring in Zach to talk some sports.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Living the dream, Zach. How you been?
Been good. Just got back from Indianapolis like an hour and a half ago. So just been on the run the last couple of weeks.
Man, what was in Indy? What was going on there?
I had some meetings there, and hopefully I get to be in town this week, but I'm not sure about it.
Hold on, which town? Is that Cleveland or Los Angeles?
Cleveland.
Okay.
I was in LA literally for one night. I got there, there for a total of 12 hours, and I was in Orange County all weekend, and I went back on Sunday for like 2 hours.
Yeah, you were
I was not there for long.
You were a couple hours south of where I was at. It gets a little tricky with traffic, but yeah.
I know. I used to live there. I was down in Newport, Laguna area, so it was like I said, it was just it's a trek still. I never liked going down there when I had to go down there from LA, but I always liked it down there. I just hated the drive, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. San Diego's really not that far away, but it's still kind of like a totally different world. It's a little interesting when you think about it. Hey, let's do that. Let's start with football. We're going to split this up into a few segments, Zach. I really don't want to have to mess around with all the post-production and all the editing to split this into 4 shows, but I'm going to because they're kind of different topics. Let's start with football. They're talking about a project in Inglewood, Los Angeles area of California to bring in the San Diego Chargers and the Oakland Raiders. I want to talk about the Cleveland Browns, but before we do, what's happening with this new stadium deal? What have you heard?
So the new stadium deal has been, Stan Kroenke owns the St. Louis Rams, wants to build an 80,000 seat stadium in Inglewood, down by Hollywood Park, right in that area, right there. Honestly, living in LA for me, if my team was moving there, great. As long as I'm not a Browns fan, but I'm saying though, if I was living down there, still living in, where I lived in Hollywood, living in the Hollywood Hills, that would have been a trek for me getting down to Inglewood on game day. I'm just telling you right then and there. I would have much rather driven downtown. I think downtown LA personally, I think Inglewood's a crappy area. It's a dead area. But if you live on the west side of town, it's not that far to get down to. So it's,
yeah, because all the stuff downtown LA, that's trouble for people on the west side.
Well, here's the issue though. Downtown is the most centralized place in Los Angeles. It is, whether people want to think it or not. If you live in Hollywood, you're about 5 to 7 miles from downtown in that area. Same with West Hollywood. You can get to the freeway easy. And coming from the west side, downtown still isn't that far from Culver City and stuff. You just take the 105 to the 110 in from the airport. Or if you're where you are, you can take the 10. So it's not that difficult. It's a very centralized spot. Although downtown's a total cluster in traffic, it's terrible. But, AEG just announced they are adding, I think there's another 710 hotel rooms to the JW Marriott at LA Live yesterday, I saw.
Wow.
The problem is with Inglewood is Inglewood doesn't have any of the hotel rooms and there's no attractions around there. The closest beach is Redondo, which still isn't the most easily accessible place in LA. It's not like Santa Monica where it's easy to get to.
Well, you know what they could do? You got to think, though, at least I would think, if you were part of that infrastructure team trying to design that and you say, all right, well, I would have every hour on the hour there's a bus that's going to show up to take people back and forth to some attractions.
But here's another thing too. With downtown right now, and especially downtown LA, is really, the gentrification process there is really speeding up. You're trying to move out the people in Skid Row. It's honestly, it's a booming downtown. Don't forget, this is a downtown that basically throughout the 60s and not until the mid to late 70s didn't even have a tall building. City Hall was the tallest building for a long time in that city.
Jeez.
Don't forget that. Downtown LA is, I believe it's the fourth largest downtown in the country right now, fourth or fifth.
Did you happen to catch that story where that guy in Skid Row was shot and killed?
Yes, I watched
ago?
the video. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we hate seeing shootings, although at the very beginning of this footage, the guy is fighting with the police officer. You can see that.
The thing is, the guy was a convicted bank robber. He stole someone else's identity. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but, I don't think the world is, so much worse off with.
Yeah, all those, they're really tricky because, you got to take the facts in, whether it's Trayvon, whether it's George Zimmerman, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, John Crawford in Walmart in Beaver Creek, Ohio, Kelly Thomas from Fullerton, California. I mean, we've seen so many police officers killing so many people. It's one of those you really kind of want to just take your time before we form an opinion. Al Sharpton out there yelling, hands up, don't shoot, and that never happened. He helped burn that city of Ferguson down.
Of crap.
Exactly.
Al Sharpton's also a piece of crap. So
I'm well aware of that.
He's a shit disturber. Excuse my language, but he is. If you got to edit that out, edit it out. But that's all he is. Getting back to sports, though, if you look at it, downtown is really trying to gentrify, especially that area around LA Live, which used to be a dump.
Yeah, I've been. I was there a couple weeks ago, and it was really, really nice. It's
gotten better, but downtown LA still isn't at that point where it's a place that, at least in my 3 years of living in LA, and eventually when I come back to live there, I can tell you right now, downtown LA still for me. When I was back a couple weeks ago, when I was back a week and a half ago, that's the last place in my mind I want to be. Unless I'm there for a Laker or a Clipper game. That's it. I don't want to be in downtown LA. It sucks. Yeah, there are tall buildings and there's some nice stuff to do, but it's not my neighborhood. It's not the stuff that I enjoy doing. But a new stadium, go take a look at Cleveland, for example. They built Quicken Loans Arena, and they built Jacobs Field, or Dund Arena and Jacobs Field in the same area next to each other. You took an area that was literally just a bunch of old warehouses, and you turned it into an entertainment district. And now, because of that, I know it's 20 years later, well, you're looking at a 54-story building being built there, hopefully breaking ground next month or in the next couple of months. They already got approved.
You know what, Zach? You make an amazing point here, because a lot of people are saying, well, these owners are mega billionaires. Why should we have a sin tax on like tobacco and alcohol to take a couple percentage so that we can, as a community, help this billionaire build a stadium?
It generates revenue, though, into the community, and it makes it a more fun and exciting place to go to.
You've made a pretty compelling case for that. You've made a pretty compelling case.
Cleveland alone, Brian, you've been to my apartment area in the financial district in Cleveland. Yeah. That was a dead zone for a few years in Cleveland. For the last 10 years, it's been a complete dead zone.
What was the name? Because I've been away. I've been in
the
bowling.
Nine. It was the old Ameritrust Tower.
No. The area with all the cobblestones, and it's like there's bars on every East 4th or East 9th?
Oh, East 4th, yeah, but that's the thing is they're extending East 4th. They're building a massive building. It'll be the 4th largest building, and it'll be the 5th largest building in the state. It'll be one of the largest buildings in the Midwest. They're talking about it'll be basically the size of the old BP building, the Huntington building.
Wow.
And yeah, it'll ruin my view of the LeBron James, of the giant Nike one, but the witness poster outside. But I don't care. I'd much rather be looking at a tall, all-glass building that I could probably move into in 3 years when it's built, or 2 years. And I would much rather have that looking out the window. And it's generating, don't forget, eSports would not be around right now if it weren't for those two stadiums. This wouldn't be a central entertainment district. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's really pumped a lot of money into the city and the area. And for these teams, you have to have updated arenas. It is the fans' responsibility sometimes. Yeah, the owner needs to make contributions too. But it points the fans do because it generates so much money for the city in just facts of entertainment, tax purposes. The sin tax is not a bad thing. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not a smoker. I don't smoke. So I don't care. I'm going to vote for it because if they want to charge 2 cents, 3 cents for a pack of cigarettes, then fine. It doesn't matter anyway. Even if you are a smoker, think about that. If you do, it's such minimal money. You're looking at less than $1 a month.
Could you imagine?
Even
Could
if
you
you smoke
imagine
a pack a day.
the late night commercials? For just $1 a month, you too can support the Cleveland Browns.
If you told me that my taxes were paying for the sin tax and I had to donate an extra, and I had to give an extra $12 a year in taxes, I'd gladly do it to keep my sports teams.
Man, it was not fun when the Browns left. Let me tell you, it was not.
No, exactly. I mean, yeah, was it fun for 3 years when the Browns left and there's nothing to do on a Sunday afternoon except go to the freaking mall? No, it's not fun. I'd give an extra $12 a year. Hell, I'd give an extra $1,000 a year to have this town.
It really is a sense of pride, although, I mean, we've been so bad for so long. It's interesting to think about the fact that the Browns really have not gotten their act together since they've gotten back into the league. So let's transition from the Los Angeles sports teams, see what happens with the Raiders and the Chargers.
If
and
it
the
were me,
Rams.
I would put the city in downtown personally, because downtown would give a huge boost to people. Always want to be where all the entertainment is. And look what LA Live has done since they built the Staples Center.
LA Live has been
That area.
fantastic. LA Live has been really nice.
Imagine LA Live quadrupling in size or doubling in size over the next 10 to 15 years, tripling in size over those next 15 years, and really creating downtown a viable marketplace where it still is cheaper to live downtown than it is anywhere else. I mean, I was paying out the ass to live in my apartment in Hollywood after I got rid of my house up there. And I can tell you, if I would have gotten the same place downtown, I could have gotten rented for about 50%, half of what I was paying in Hollywood. Or I could have rented it, I could have gotten a big downtown loft for really cheap. That's the thing is people are going to want to move there. It's eventually a place where people will want to go. It's cheaper. And, people can live in a high-rise loft down there. It just isn't my cup of tea right now. It doesn't say it won't be in 10 years.
Right. Yeah, I have this idea of having East Coast, West Coast, Midwest headquarters, different staging areas. I kind of see the world changing a little bit, where people are going to be more freelance as opposed to I work for such and such company. I think there's going to be a lot of freelance stuff, and I think people are going to be mobile.
I'm all over the place.
I think people will be mobile. I really think the old I need to clock in on a 9 to 5.
I don't clock in. I'm on salary. I'm on salary for my company, and I do consulting on the side in the summer on weekends. Where I take my weekend trips. So it just is what it is. And if you really want to be an entrepreneur today or doing what you're doing, you need to be able to be mobile in business. Yeah, it's exhausting. I mean, was I looking forward to getting back from California and Las Vegas last week, going on Friday and going, okay, I've got to go to Indianapolis Monday or Tuesday morning for a show and for meetings. That's exactly what I want to do, is go to Indianapolis in the middle of winter on a Tuesday morning. It's the last place I wanted to be.
Maybe Oklahoma City would be the last place you'd want to
Trust me, Indianapolis is up there. But I'm saying, those are the two of the last cities I want to be in. But did I go? Yeah. Did I wind up having a decent time there? Yeah, it's not bad. It's a dead city, but everything's completely funded on tourism there. There's not a ton to do, but I had a good time. It wasn't terrible. I was with a couple of guys I work with. It was not bad. I didn't hate it.
I went to a convention in Indianapolis a few years ago, the NAM, National Association of Music Merchants. They normally had their summer conference in Nashville, but they switched it for 2 years. They went to Austin one year, and then they went to Indianapolis, I think the next year. And I went to all three of those cities, and yeah, Indianapolis was kind of nice. It was kind of clean, and it was kind of boring. There was
definitely that's exactly what I got out of it.
Definitely more of a pulse in Nashville, and it wasn't all country, by the way. And then there's also, good scene over there in Austin, and people want that. People want stuff to do. And then the Cleveland Browns, you have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you have Cedar Point, you have the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There's interesting stuff going on, and the Browns they've been waiting since their rebirth to become relevant again, and yet here we are. So let's talk about their quarterback situation. Both Johnny, Hoyer, McCown. What are we looking at here at quarterback for the Browns?
We're looking at Brian Hoyer's gone. I mean, he's 100% gone. I think there was some beef he had with someone, but he's 100% gone. So right now it's McCown, and it's Manziel. That doesn't mean they're not going to bring in another quarterback. It doesn't mean that at all. It's not like McCown gave $10, $12 million to a year. There's still another chance, and apparently the Browns also attempted to trade for Brandon Marshall, but did not offer enough. The Jets
what
offered
was
a high fifth-round pick.
Okay, so that's what I was asking. What did the Jet? I forgot to check that. A high fifth-round pick, fifth.
Yeah, and what Jimmy Haslam said, not about, this is what people misinterpreted, apparently, from what I understand, is that, people are like, oh, Jimmy Haslam, we're not going to spend a ton of free agents. Apparently, he said they're going to spend. It's just not going to be on a ton of players, which means they're going to go after some high-priced free agents. I mean, they could be in the running for Randall Cobb, for Julius Thomas. They could sign Brian Hartline. Andre Johnson's out there. He's been rumored. There are some guys they could add this offseason. Like I said, this is not a team that's far away from a playoff spot at all. We saw, don't forget, when you get a healthy Alex Mack back, you've got 2 first-round picks. Justin Gilbert's been working out with Joe Hayden every day this offseason. There still is a ton of talent on this football team, and they've got $50 million in cap space to work with. So they can do their thing and do some damage. I have no worries about them. I expect guys like Kirksey to improve. Pierre Desir was fantastic at the end of last season. I expect Gilbert to improve. He had a great game against the Colts last year. You look at Keywan Williams. You look at this team, say, okay, they're not too far off. You get a healthy O-line in there. Look what this team did with the healthy O-line last year, and with a pretty crappy quarterback in Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
They were 6-3. They were 6-3.
And they dismantled the Steelers.
They dismantled the Bengals too.
And the Bengals on national TV.
Along the way.
Uh-huh.
But you add some more weapons. The team, like I said, they're not far off from a playoff spot. They really aren't. They should wind up winning 4 games this year and still not be far off from a playoff spot. They have a really talented football team. They just need a solution at the quarterback. I don't know if they're going to trade up for Mariota. I don't know if they're going to trade for Foles. I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't think trading for Foles is completely out of the question.
That thing just makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. Not that I'm in love with Foles. He had an absolutely blowout, fantastic moments, and then a lot of crash back to earth kind of moments. But whatever. It's that Chip Kelly. That's not one of his guys. On top of it, so if they want to go up and get their Oregon guy at Mariota, if you can get to number 5 or number 6, if you're at number 12, I think the Browns could be used to be like a leapfrog to get you up there to go get him. It's going to be hard for some of these teams to jump up from number 20, number 25 to go on up and get a top flight quarterback. But the Browns have proven they're willing to trade an asset for next year. And they've been doing that repeatedly with Trent Richardson. They did that, this kind of, for Johnny Manziel, trading that pick away, the Sammy Watkins thing. The Browns have seemed really savvy about building up future assets, and you saw how that played dividends for the Cavs. Do you think the Browns could be heavy trade partners with some teams coming up here in the draft?
I think they could be. I think anything's on the table for sure. I wouldn't discount Ray Farmer from doing anything, and that's what I'll take out of it. I'm not going to sit here and bash the Browns today for something they haven't done yet. I'm not going to sit there and bash them.
Well, they signed McCown. Can we bash them about that? What? I don't really get that move at all.
Backup, I have no problem with him as a backup. I just don't want to rely on him to be the starter of this football team.
What is it? He's 39 years old, and he signed a $9 million 3-year deal?
35.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is don't forget a year ago, look at what he did in Chicago. He was fantastic. Tampa last year, he was not fantastic. So I don't know what's going to happen with this team. Before I place judgment on this team, I'm going to wait a couple of weeks. I'm going to wait till the draft, see what they do in free agency, and then I'll sit and bash them like I usually do.
Well, that's this was our poll question of the day. We're building a couple Facebook groups now, and this one's the Unhappy Hour Sports Show group. And the question was, did Brian Hoyer get a fair shot to become the Browns' starting quarterback this year? What do you think?
Yes, he got a fair shot. He could have signed with the Browns this year. I think he had some beef with someone. And don't forget, last year, he sucked at the end of last year. He was terrible.
He was
It's not
terrible.
like he was a star and they benched him.
Diminishing skills.
Don't forget that Colts game. He was terrible. He had some really good games early on and didn't, just look bad after that. It just is what it is. He didn't impress at the second half last year. They needed a change. Johnny wasn't any better, unfortunately. Johnny was way worse. It just made it say, okay, Hoyer is better than what was there. It's, you've got a small piece of crap and you've got a big piece of crap. That's essentially what the Browns had. And
Sorry, that kind of struck me as funny. What do you think we're getting back in Johnny Manziel? Do you think he might actually be able to get his act
I don't think you
together?
can rely on him for anything. Watching him last year against the Bengals, being at that game, I don't think his arm is strong enough to play in the pros, truthfully.
So it's
I don't think you can see over the line. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say the kid's a bust, but my gut feeling says he's going to be a complete bust.
That is possible. And Ray Farmer, what do you think about Farmer? Are we going to get sanctioned and lose draft picks over texting, but you can have the owner on the
I heard
sidelines?
it's going to probably be a 5th or a 6th or a 7th round pick. Nothing big.
Yeah, but still.
A 6th or 7th round pick, who cares? Seriously.
All right. Well, then, fine. I'm not going to be worried about it. I'm not going to care. Who do we get in free agency then? We talked about Demaryius Thomas and some of these wide receivers, Brian Hartline. What do we do at wide receiver and then running back? What do we do?
Running back, I think they're all right. I don't, if they add another piece to the draft, fine. But I think you've got a nice little two-headed monster with Crowell and with Terrence West. I think you do, especially if they're able to progress. I really do. I think you've got 2 nice running backs there who are young. Getting back to it, I think those 2 are fine to go in with now. If you draft Amir Abdullah from Nebraska in the 2nd or 3rd round, then fine. There's another possibility. There will be other fits through the draft. I think that's what you do. I mean, I think with a stable offensive line, that's the key to having a successful running back. I don't think they need to go out there and sign D'Angelo Williams, guy on his downside. I think they're going to be just fine.
So then, should we spend one of those first 2 picks on an offensive lineman to make sure that position is?
I think wide receiver is a bigger need. I think if this line is healthy, is going to be very, very good. Now, if you add another right tackle to this team, don't forget, you're looking at Joe Thomas, who's the top-ranked tackle throughout last season. You're looking at Bitonio, who's the top 2 or 3 ranked guard in the NFL last year. Alex Mack was the number 2 center. John Greco was the number 11 ranked offensive line, 11 guard last year in the league last year. Was ranked 11th in the league. Mitchell Schwartz was 15th. It's not like he was bad either. That's the thing. Now, if you bring another young right tackle, because Schwartz is a free agent after the year, fine. You want to improve that offensive line, but I don't think you need a perfect offensive line. I don't think you need to be in the top 3 of every position, if you get what I'm getting at. I think you're going for immediate help. An offensive lineman would be nice, but I think defensive tackle and nose tackle is the most pressing need they have right now. I don't think it's close. I think that is the most pressing need in quarterback, obviously. And wide receiver. I think those are the 3 biggest ones.
And Ndamukong Suh, what do you think? Would he look good in Browns?
The Browns have a ton of cap. I would not be opposed to signing him.
That would fit the Haslam. No. We're not going to get a lot of players, but we're going to spend a lot of money.
Exactly. That's the thing is, signing Randall Cobb will not surprise me. Whatever the Browns do in free agency, if they make a big splash, will not surprise me next week.
If you were Randall Cobb or Andre Johnson or Demaryius Thomas, would you come here and you don't even know who's throwing you the ball?
I wouldn't have a problem with it necessarily. It's all about the Benjamins.
Well.
And Brian Hartline, I understand why he wants to come back, and it's his hometown.
Okay, that makes sense. Ted Ginn Jr., Brian Hartline.
Growing up as a kid, can you envision yourself as a little kid? You always go, oh, man, I want to play for the Cleveland Browns someday. I want to play for the Browns. Doesn't matter how much they suck. You want to be a Cleveland Browns someday because that's your team. That's the team you care about.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I remember when I used to ride my bikes all around Brunswick and really all around the city as much as I could, whenever I could. It was one of my favorite things to do. And driving past or riding my bicycle past our high school football stadium. You'd gone to a couple games and you go past when it's busy and the lights are on. And you're like, man, I want to play there someday.
Exactly.
For me, that was realistically what I thought about. And absolutely, then I got to play there, and it was an incredible thrill, an incredible rush, one of the best time periods of my life. I loved it. So yeah, for Brian Hoyer or someone like Brian Hartline, I mean, it's really neat to play in front of your hometown fans. Look at LeBron James,
Exactly. That's where I'm getting at. So, it's just, I don't know what's going to happen, but I expect the Browns to make some moves. I expect Ray Farmer to make a splash like he did last year.
Okay, let's do this.
To improve this football team. I mean, there's still a chance. I don't know what the Browns are going to do at quarterback. There's still a chance they wind up with Jay Cutler. I'm not saying it's likely, but there's still a chance.
Possibility.
And the thing is, Jay Cutler a quitter? Probably, yeah. Is he a winner? No, not really. But, he'd still be the best quarterback the Browns have had in a long time. I would take the guy. Would I be in love with it? No.
He's making what,
Is it better
10
than what we
million?
have?
He's making 10 million right now, and then if they
I
cut
don't.
him,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the exact deal would be if he'd be a cut and sign. I don't know if it'd be a trade. I don't know. I really don't. It's just speculation at this point. So I mean, I think that's where we are with the Browns.
All right, then let's do this. Let's press pause for just a moment here, and we'll come back on the other side. What do we want to talk about? We want to do Cavs? We want to do Indians? We want to do
Cavs.
Okay, here we go.
The Unhappy Hour on the new AmericanMedia.com.